Hello everyone, welcome back to the United Devils. My name is Dom and today we're going to be talking about our game against Arsenal at the weekend. Going into this game I'm a little bit more worried than maybe I would have been previously because we lost to Sheffield United and they won their game against Southampton and that was away from home. I know home form doesn't really play into it as much because there's no fans, but you need to look at who they've beaten, who we've lost to. Now I'd hope that we come back and this is a wake-up call. We look tired at the back, like the players weren't closing down quick enough. And going forward as well, like I think we really missed Cavani that game. So hopefully this is a wake-up call. But before we get into the team news, I think it's important to talk about the fallout of our defeat against Sheffield United. Axwell Tuanzebe and Anthony Martial didn't have the best game in the world, but the abuse they received online as a result of this was absolutely unacceptable. No matter how bad a player performs, racial abuse is absolutely unacceptable and more needs to be done by these social media companies to stamp it out basically. A lot of these people that are doing it are getting away with it. They just make another account or they just, sometimes it goes unnoticed. They can spout out racial abuse, it doesn't get picked up and they continue on with their account not being blocked. So it's not really stopping people from doing this. They just carry on because they get away with it. So yeah, it's just basically unacceptable. Martial and Tuanzebe, we stand with you and we're proud that you play for our football club. Into the team news. So as you can see on the right, that's the team I've gone for. David De Gea didn't have the best game against Sheffield United, but nobody really did. And I feel like it's probably his worst game of the season. Apart from that, he's been very solid. We don't just drop him after one game. You need to stick with your players. So I put David De Gea in net. Going into the back line, I feel like the back line was full of mistakes, mainly because we changed 50% of our normal back line, if that makes sense. Like Tuanzebe and Tellez don't typically play in that back line. Eric Bailly didn't play in a car crash. I'm pretty sure Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that he would be available for selection at the weekend. It was just a precaution. So yeah, Bailly's fine. Bailly should be able to play. I feel like Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Maguire stay in the team. You want consistency in your back line, and I feel like you need to keep them two in the team. Ollie doesn't look like he's going to drop Maguire, and he doesn't look like he's going to drop Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Let's just accept it and get them a run of games, get behind them, and hopefully they get reinforcements in the summer, because obviously nothing's happening in the January transfer window. And then at left back, I feel like it's important to play Shaw. I feel like Shaw is getting to a point now where he offers more everywhere than Tellez, and I feel like that might be because Tellez hasn't had a run of games since he's joined United. Really, he's not had a consistent run of games to get into form. But I feel like it's really telling, and it really shows against Sheffield United. I feel like Tuanzebe and Tellez were two of the players that weren't really rushing to track down players, especially for the second goal. If you watch that goal back, they were sort of slowly jockeying towards the players. There was no tenacity that you get with an Eric Bailly or even a Luke Shaw to a lesser extent. But both of them players are going to press and going to attack, and they're going to fight to win the ball back. And I feel like if you're playing players that don't typically play, maybe, just speculating here, maybe the attitude going into the Sheffield United game as a whole wasn't great and we're playing the bottom of the league, we're about to go back to the top of the league. Obviously that didn't happen. Going into midfield, this might not be the best thing for people to hear, but I think Scott McTominay and Fred, the two players that probably polarise as a duo, more than any other duo in our team. I feel like McTominay and Fred are important in these bigger games. I feel like Arsenal should be taken into a bigger game because they're in good form at the minute. I think they might be near the top of the Premier League form table. So that kind of lets you know that they're having a good time at the minute. They had an awful start to the season, but they are in form now. They're not even starting to come into form. They are in good form. So I think it's important to have Fred and McTominay running around. That's the tenacity that you kind of missed at Sheffield United for the goal. That's the tenacity that you want in a team. And that's something that's maybe a good highlight of what McTominay and Fred brings. One of their bigger attributes as it's pairing together is the tenacity to run after the ball, break teams down and get the ball back, which is something that we didn't see again in our defence against Sheffield United. I feel like the two have been rested for a reason, and that's to come into this team. Ollie likes to play these two in big games, and I feel like they're the best choice, to be honest. Again, going back to Matic, I feel like he's too slow. And to point out with Paul Pogba, I feel like he's not very good defensively, and I think that kind of showed. I think I might be wrong, and I'm sorry if I am, but I feel like Pogba could have tracked a man and could have closed the player down that eventually shot and scored. I can't remember who it was, Sheffield United player. You can point fingers anywhere because the player should have been closing down better, but I feel like Paul Pogba can sometimes go missing, daydream a little bit, and sort of not take the responsibility of closing down players. So I wouldn't play him in centre defensive midfield. I feel like it's maybe a game to rest Paul Pogba, to be honest with you. Going into our forward players, I'd play Rashford, Bruno and Greenwood. I feel like Rashford and Greenwood, you can see them linking up, and the overlapping runs that they were both doing against the team that sits further forward. I feel like that's something that we can exploit with Arsenal. I have a lot more confidence in Sheffield United to press forward and have a higher defensive line, which will open up space behind for Rashford and Greenwood, and that's kind of where these players thrive. I feel like they sometimes struggle to break down teams that sit back, but in this game, I'd play them two. Also, Bruno Fernandes starts in every game. He's just the most important player to our team. I am just praying that he doesn't get injured. Then going up front, I'd play Edinson Cavani. I feel like we really missed Edinson Cavani in the game against Sheffield United. I feel like when he came on, more seemed to be happening. You look at Martial next to Cavani, and I don't think Martial's necessarily a bad striker. Yeah, he's in a bad run of form, but you look at the difference between Martial and Cavani's movement. I feel like Martial should really try and invest in learning off Cavani's movement. I feel like the space that he creates running around and the options he creates, dragging defenders, is something that maybe only the top level strikers have. But I feel like Cavani's one of the best at doing that. And I feel like his work rate is something that should be looked up to, especially a lot of people talk about his age. I don't think he's necessarily mega old for a footballer. Sure, he's towards the end of his career, but for him to put that sort of output into a game and be running around so much, the younger players should be looking up to that. There's no reason that they shouldn't be doing it if Cavani can at the age that he's at the moment. So the main things to take away from this game is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to put out his strongest team. We can't be resting any players. I don't think he'd be resting any players anyway, but we need to really stick with our strong defensive line. I feel like it's important to play Cavani. That's another key, and I feel like McTominay and Fred are another important factor in this game. I feel like it'll be a close game. I feel like there maybe only be one goal in it. It could well be a draw, but I'm going to be optimistic, and I'm going to say it's going to be 2-1 to Manchester United. We're away from home. Our home record is great. We love it when we're the team that's sort of on the back foot and we can counter teams. That benefits us with the space that's left in behind. Hopefully Manchester United can learn to play better against teams that sit back. And I know there's a reason that teams play with a low block, because when they don't have as good players as, say, we do, it's the most effective way to get a result out of a game. It might be a little bit boring, but at the end of the day, we need to find a way to get past these low blocks. If you want to see more from me, I have my own channel. Links will be in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.